We begin today the Gemara on Kuf Daled Amud Beis, two lines from the bottom of the Amud. The Gemara is discussing the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, and this is in connection to what it said before in the Gemara. So first, Rabbi Akiva in the Mishnah said that when a person does chalitza and he skipped the part, she is skipped doing the spitting, right? There's three parts of chalitza. You have to read the psukim that have to be said, then she has to remove his shoe, and there's also spitting that she has to spit in front of him. So Rabbi Akiva said, if you didn't spit, so then the chalitza is still going to be kosher. It's not going to prevent the chalitza from taking effect. That's what Rabbi Akiva said in the Mishnah. Then the Gemara here discussed another point. Chalitza accomplishes two different things. First of all, obviously, the point of chalitza is to be matter her, to go married to anybody she wants. But there's another point that happens when chalitza is done. Once chalitza is done, she may not now go back to any of the brothers to get married to them. Kivin Shalei Bana, the Gemara before brought the psukim, but once she did not do yibum with them, rather she did chalitza, that now does not allow her to go back to any of the brothers. Now these two things are not necessarily connected. As we'll see in the Gemara today, in order for chalitza to work, to be matter, to get married l'shuk to anybody, it has to be a kosher chalitza. But even a pasal chalitza will have the effect that she'll not be allowed to go back to get married to any of the brothers. So the Gemara before said that it was sent to the father of Shmuel. Just a moment, let me just see the lashon of the Gemara before. It was sent to the father of Shmuel that a Yevamos that just spit in front of her Yavam without doing anything else, that alone will not allow her to get married to anybody else, but because it is, she won't be allowed to go get married to any of the brothers. And the Gemara before said this can't be true according to Rabbi Akiva. Because Rabbi Akiva says that the whole spitting is insignificant. Even when you do the actual chalitza to be matter, to get married to anybody else, if you skip the part of the spitting, she's still mutter to get married to anybody else. That just proves how insignificant it is. So if so, this can't be according to Rabbi Akiva, that just the spitting alone would passel her to go back to any of the brothers. But here, the Gemara will bring a braisa where you clearly see that Rabbi Akiva does hold of this. Sagt the Gemara, Umi Amar Rabbi Akiva, can it be true that what we said before, that Rabbi Akiva holds, that Rikike loy pasla, that just the spitting alone, if the Yevamos spits in front of the Yavam, that this will not passel her to go back to get married to any of the brothers. This can't be. Because Vatanya, we learned in the Braisa as follows. Chalza v'loy rakaka. If she removed the shoe, but she did not spit in front of the Yavam. And v'loy kara, she didn't say the psukim that are to be said as well. Chalitza ksheira. Just the removing of the shoe, the chalitza is kosher. So when it says ksheira, that means it's totally kosher. She can go get married to whoever she wants. Rakaka, if she spit in front of the Yavam, v'le chalza v'le kara, she did not remove the shoe, and she did not say the psukim, chalitza psula. Then the chalitza is pasal. So as the Gemara is soon going to explain, what does it mean the chalitza is pasal? Chalitza is pasal means that she cannot go get married to whoever she wants, but a pasal chalitza does now passel her of going back to getting married to any of these brothers. But kara v'loy rakaka v'loy chalza, if she just said the psukim but she did not spit in front of him and she did not remove his shoe, ain't kam beis michush. There's nothing to pay attention to. It's nothing. Not she can get married to anybody else, and not she becomes possible to go back to the brothers. Nothing. That's the braisa. So here in this braisa it clearly says that just by spitting alone it passels her to go back to her brothers. So Mani, who's the Tana speaking here in this braisa? Are you going to say that it's the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer? So what does Rabbi Eliezer hold? In our Mishnah, we learned that Rabbi Eliezer says that in order for the chalitza to work, you have to have both the chalitza and the rikika. You have to remove the shoe and spit as well. So what did it say over here in this braisa? So it said chalza v'loy rakaka v'loy kara, just removing the shoe without spitting and without reading the psukim, chalitza ksheira. The chalitza is kosher. So there can't be Rabbi Eliezer, because v'amer Rabbi Eliezer, before in the Mishnah Rabbi Eliezer said that we learned from the pasuk kacha yaselish that davashahu ma'aseh ma'akiv, anything that's an action, that's part of the chalitza, prevents it from taking effect. So the spitting is an action, the removing the shoe is an action, and you must do both. So from the first line of this braisa, we know that this braisa is not Rabbi Eliezer. So Rabbi Akiva. This braisa that says even without spitting the chalitza is kosher, it must be Rabbi Akiva that said so in the Mishnah. The Katani, and what did it say in the second part of this braisa? Rakaka v'loy chalza v'loy kara. If she only spit in front of the yavam and she did not remove his shoe, she did not read any of the psukim, chalitza psula, that the chalitza would be pasal. So what does this statement of chalitza psula mean? Laman, pasal for whom? For what sake is it pasal? If it's coming to say that it's possible that she can't go get married to whoever she wants, pshita, that would be obvious. Mi have chalitza de shtarya la'alma. Just by spitting alone, would I think that the chalitza is good? She's missing the main component of the chalitza, to remove the shoe. The Braisa wouldn't have to say that to me. Elolav la'achem. The main point that the Braisa was saying is that the chalitza is possible in the sense that it still puzzles her of going back to getting married to any of the brothers. True, she can't get married to anybody else, but it's called a pasala chalitza, and she can't go get married to any of the brothers. Rashi over here brings from the Gemara in Gittin that this is a klal, b'negei to chalitza, and b'negei to a get as well. Whenever the Tana uses the term chalitza psula, it means that she's possible to get married to one of the brothers. And it's similar by a get. Whenever the Mishnah uses the term that the get is possible, it means that the get didn't take effect. She's not allowed to get married to whoever she wants, but she'll be possible to get married to a kohen through this get. When it says in the Mishnah, the Lashon, that the get is batul, or similar to what it says here, en kam beis michosh, so then the chalitza has zero effect. Or by a get, if it says that the get is batul, that means that the get will have zero effect. But if it uses the term pasul, pasul means it wasn't mat to her, but it did have a certain effect, that she'll be pasul to a kohen. And here as well, she'll be pasul to go back to the brothers.
She's always positive.
Huh?
For a get, she's always positive.
But if the get didn't take effect, and then later her husband dies, and she is only an almana, so she should be allowed to get married to the kohen. But because she had a pasal get, she'll be asked to get married to the kohen. Okay, so this is so this must be Rabbi Akiva. So what happens? So it comes out of here, Shma Mina. So we see over here clearly that even according to Rabbi Akiva, a Yevamos that just spits in front of the Yavam, it passes her to get married to the Yavam. Sagt the Gemara, Ule Rabbi Akiva. So now, according to Rabbi Akiva, Maishna Rekike or Maishna Kriya. So what's the difference? Why, if she only spit in front of the Yavam, so that passes her of getting married to one of the brothers, but if she only said the psukim and she did not spit, so then I say it is not possible to the brothers. What's the difference? So now, this whole thing that if she only spits, she can't get married to any of the brothers, it's exerim with the Rabbanan. Really, the minatayra, the chalitza, didn't take effect. The Rabbanan were geizer, because she did a part of the chalitza, she shouldn't go back to get married to any of the brothers. So if they make that gzeira by this part, by the rikike, so why don't they say the same thing if she just said the psukim in front of him, so she did a part of the chalitza, that should also passel her. So the Gemara explains it's not the same thing. Kriya, when it comes to saying the psukim, the isa bein betchila bein besayf, the psukim that are said, there are some psukim that have to be read before the chalitza, before the shoe is removed, and there are some psukim that are said afterwards. So people will not confuse this with a proper chalitza. When people see that the psukim are said, and there's no shoe that's being removed, people will notice that this is not a proper chalitza. Because the psukim are said before and after, people will realize that no shoe was removed over here because they see that there's nothing else that happened besides these psukim. However, the kike, the betchila, lese, ulubesayif isa, when it comes to this that the Yevamos spits in front of the Yavam, so you don't spit before you remove the shoe, you only spit afterwards, machlefala. This is something people might confuse with a regular chalitza. When people see that she spit, people won't know what happened before, and people might think she probably already removed the shoe before, and now she's just doing the other part of spitting in front of him. And therefore, va'asu lemishri chalutza la'achen. So they'll see that she spit in front of her Yevama, and Yavam that is, and afterwards she went and get married to him or to any of the brothers. So they might confuse this with a proper chalitza and say that even with a proper chalitza you can still get married to one of the brothers. So therefore, by the kike, just by spitting alone, Chacham wa Geiza, she shouldn't get married to any of the brothers. Now there are others that said, Hachi shalchulei. This is what was sent to the father of Shmuel. This was all a continuation from the Gemara before, where it was sent to the father of Shmuel that if the Yevama just spit in front of the Yavam, she's possible to get married to any of the brothers. But now there's another version of what exactly the halacha was that was sent to the father of Shmuel. And the halacha was as follows. Yevama sherakaka tachloitz, that a Yevama that spit in front of her Yavam, so now all she has to do is remove his shoe. She doesn't have to go and remove his shoe a second time. Usually, what's the seder of the chalitza? First she removes the shoe and then she spits in front of him. What happens if she did it in the other way around? She first spit in front of him and she didn't remove the shoe yet. All she has to do now is remove his shoe. She does not have to spit again in front of him. And the Gemara brings an incident, a story where this happened. Kiyahi, like this story that happened, the Asya, or Yevama the Bach says, the Asya lekameh de Rabami. A Yevama came in front of Rabami. Havayasav Rababa Bamama Kamei. Rababa Bamama was sitting there in front of Ravami. Rakaka Mikamei de Tachlet. She already spit in front of her Yavam before she removed the shoe. Amalei Rabami, so Rabami said to her, Chaloitzla, allow her to remove the shoe from you, and V'shari la Tigra. And then the whole story will be over. The whole Tigra means like the whole business here will be done. It'll
finish her business.
Yeah, finish her business, it'll all be done. Even though she spit before, and only afterwards she's removing the shoe, it's fine. Amalei Rababe, so Rababe says, V'binan Meidak. No, she has to spit again afterwards. So he said, no, Harakakala, she spit already before. So he said, V'teidak, let her spit again to do it in the right order. Or mabakach. Why would it matter to you if she let her just spit again? So it's done in the right way. So he said, no, I don't want her to spit again because nafik minei churba. This could bring a big mistake people will make here. The amrit tehada v'teidak. If you're going to say that she should spit again, so amri, people will say the kika kabaisa lesbe mashasha. So then people will say that the first time that she spit is nothing, is worthless. And then something that's similar to this that people could confuse with this case, people will come and say that she should be permitted to go back to getting married to any of the brothers when it's not allowed. So it has to be clear to people that even just the spitting alone in the beginning already has an effect. Like we said before, there's exeta that even spitting alone asks her from going back to the brothers. So we see here in the story that that if it's done with the spitting before, that the chalitza takes effect. So the Gemara now asks, don't we need the chalitza to be done in the right order? First remove the shoe, and then she spits in front of him. Says the Gemara, no, kisidron loy ma'akve. B'di'evet, doing it in this order does not prevent the chalitza of taking effect. Now, husavar d'chuye kamat chilei. So Rab Abba bar Mamel, so he thought that Rab Ami was just pushing him off when he was telling him, don't worry, the Seder doesn't matter, and you could just take off the shoe and just let her go. So he thought he was stop pushing him off. But then Nofak, Dok, Vashkach, he went out and looked and found a Braise that clearly says this. The Tanya, it says in the Braise. Whether the chalitza, the removing of the shoe was done before she spit, or she spit before she removed the shoe, Masha Asa. What's done is done, and the Seder is not Makif. Gemara brings now another story here in connection to this, where this was one of the questions that was asked. Levi Nofak Lekriyasa. Levi went out to the villages, and Baal Minei, and people there, Mina, people asked him the following questions. First question was, Gidemes Mao Shatachleitz. A woman that, God forbid, her hands are amputated, she doesn't have hands, and she has to remove the shoe, but she can't use her hands to remove the shoe, so could she do chalitza? Yevame Sherakaka Dam. A Yevame that when she spits, instead of it coming out saliva, it was blood that came out of her mouth. Mahu. Is that take effect? Is that good? Is the spitting good? And then there was another pasuk that they asked him about. There's a pasuk that says, "Avol aged locha es haroshim b'ksav emes." I will tell you what has been marked down, and what's being written is true. This refers to what Daniel, what he sees lamaila, what he sees by the Eibishter. I'll tell you what I see marked down as true. So what they asked him was, what it seems is that there are things that the Eibishter marks down that are not true. Could you say that? Is there something in the Eibishter by the Eibishter that's not true? So these are the three questions that they asked Levi when he went out to visit people, when he went out in the villages. Lo yave biyadei, so he didn't have what to answer for these three questions. Asa shal be'medrasha, he came and asked in Besmedrash these questions. Amrulei, they answered him and they said, first, regarding the first question, a woman that doesn't have hands to remove the shoe. Miksiv v'cholza biyad, does it say in the Torah that she should remove the shoe from the yavam by hand? It doesn't say biyad. So she can do it even with her teeth, in any other way that she is able to remove the shoe without hands. Or miksiv v'yarka roik, does it say that when she spits that it has to be saliva? Whatever comes out of her mouth, even if it's blood. And then regarding the pasuk, Aval agad l'cha roshim b'ksav emes, that it says that I'll see what's written by the Eibishter that's true. V'chiyesh ksav she'ein emes, is there something that's not truthful? So as Rashi explains, what this means is when the Eibishter writes something, when the Eibishter is geize, decrees something, truthful means that once he decrees it, he does not change, he will follow through with his decree. But there are some things that the Eibishter writes that are not truthful in the sense that the Eibishter doesn't necessarily follow through with it. So when is that? What does this mean? So they explained to him, like Hashia, there's no question here. When the Eibishter decrees something and he also swears by it that he will fulfill it, so that's something that he will not change. But But if there's a decree that does not come along with a shvuah, that's something that's not truthful, so to speak, because the Eibusher could change this. As Rav Shmuel Barami said, the Amar Rav Shmuel Barami, Amar Rabbi Yonasan, Minayin l'gzardin sheyeshim mishvuah. If the Eibusher decrees and it comes along with the Eibusher swearing in this, she'enim miskareya. So this is a gzardin that could not get torn. Shenema, as it says, when the children of Eli misbehaved in the Beis Hamikdash, and the Eibusher over there made a decree on them, so lechein ishbati lebeis Eli. There it says that the Eibusher swore for the children of Eli, im yiskaper avim beis Eli bezevach u'bemincha ad olam. I will never forgive the children of Eli with any carbon forever. So over there it was with a shvuah, and that's a gezeira that the Eibusher does not take back. So, but nevertheless, the Gemara says on this, even on such a kind of gezeira that comes along with a shvuah, Amar Rabbe b'zevachu b'mincha einem miskaper. If you look in the pasuk, it actually gives a certain limitation. It says, no matter how many karbanos they'll bring, the Eibusher says, I will not forgive them. Avol miskaper hu b'divrei Torah. But through learning Torah, the descendants of Eli could bring a kapara. And the Gemara now brings, or another opinion here, the Gemara brings, Abaya ma bezevach b'mincha in a miskaper, with karbanis they will not be forgiven. Aval miskaper b'gemulas chasadim. By doing gemulas chasadim, even a gzeira that's so strong, together with a shvuah, will be forgiven. And here the Gemara says, Rabbe v'Abaye mi'b'debeis Eli kaso. Rabbe and Abaye both came from the house of Eli. Rabbe dasik b'teire, Rabbe learned teire, chayar bonshnin, so he lived for 40 years. Abaye, the Asak, B'Teire Ubig Gemilas Chasadim. Abaye both occupied his time with learning Teire and Gemilas Chasadim. Chaya Shitnishnin. So he lived for 60 years. So even though they were descendants of Eli, there was a Gzeira on them not to live, but nevertheless, through the Teire and Gemilas Chasadim, they lived. We had this exact same Gemara before. If you remember in Rosh Hashanah, I believe it was. Right here, this is the continuation of the Gemara that we learned before. There was a family in Yerushalayim, their children would pass away at about the age of 18. They came and notified Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai about this. So he said to them, maybe you are descendants of the house of Eli. And it says, that all the people that are born from this house, they will pass away. So he gave them the advice, similar to what we said before. Go and occupy yourself in learning Torah, and you'll live. They went and they learned Torah, and the Torah gave them life. Because they got life through Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, that became the nickname of this family. They were called the family of Yochanan. From where do we see that when there's a decree upon a whole tzibur, that it does not get sealed, and therefore it could always be removed? Fragt the Gemara, is it true that it doesn't get sealed? But vaksiv, there's a pasuk where it speaks about a gzardin for a tzibur, and it says there, even if you'll try to wash off this gzeira with different kinds of cleaning agents, with soap and so on, the stain of the aveira remains, and this is speaking even about a tzibur, lefanai, in front of the Eibishter. Ella, so therefore the Gemara says, Minayin shafila nechtam, even though it was already sealed, and the gzeira is very strong, but nevertheless, miskareya. When the tzibur will daven to the Eibishter, they can tear this gzardin. Even though the stain remains, but they can tear this whole gzeira. Shenema, because there's one pasuk where it says, Mi kashem alekeinu b'chol kareinu elav. How great is our Eibishter when we call out to him. Which means anytime you call to the Eibishter is so great and he listens. Then, but the question is, Vaksiv, in another pasuk it says, Dirsha Hashem, seek out the Eibishter, bihi matzai. Only at certain times when he's available, when he's found for you. So what does this mean? Is it always or only certain times? The answer is, like kashya, it's not a question. Habi yachid and habi tzibur. If you're davening alone, so then there's only certain times when the Eibishter is available. But if you daven with a tzibur, and there's a gzeira on the tzibur, and they daven, so then the Eibishter always answers. And that's from here we see that even a gzeira that comes upon a tzibur that's been sealed, the Eibishter will tear it if they daven to the Eibishter. So the Gemara continues, Yachid Amos. So when is that time when the Eibishter is available, even for a Yachid, when he davens to the Eibishter? The 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, then that a Yachid has the koyach like a tzibur. So we had the same Gemara in Rosh Hashanah. The Rebbe's medayik always this thing, Asara Yomim. There are 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. There are no 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. There's only 7 days. Right? There's 2 days Rosh Hashanah and 1 day Yom Kippur. But the Gemara means that the 10 days really include Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur itself. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are obviously a Yom Tov for themselves, and they have their own inyan, but besides that, they are also part of the 10 days. That's what the Gemara uses, the 10 days. Going back to the halacha we learned before regarding the rekika, the spitting of a Yevama. Shalchalei lavu de Shmuel, the following halacha was sent to the father of Shmuel. Yevama sheraka kadam, a Yevama that spit, and what she spit was blood, tachleitz. So she can do the chalitza, she can remove the shoe, so the chalitza will take effect. Even if what she spit was blood, but it has some saliva that's mixed in as well. Anytime a person spits, there has to be some saliva there. Meisvei, so the Gemara asks on this, is that true? Because we learned as follows. Yochayel, I would think, we're talking over here about a person that's tameh, is a zav. So I would think that if blood comes out of his mouth, or mipia ama, or when he urinates, instead it comes out blood, tameh, so I would think that blood that comes out of his mouth is tameh. So by a zav, so the saliva and the regular liquids that come out of his mouth, so those things cause tumah. So, but if blood comes out of his mouth, so I would think maybe that would be tummy as well. Talmud loima zoivay tummy, only the regular flow that comes from the source, from the person, that's tummy. But vein dama yitzim mipiv mipia ama tummy. But blood that comes out is not going to be tummy. Elatoir, it's going to be toir. So what do you see over here? That the blood that comes out is not going to be tummy. And says the Gemara loikashir. It's not a question. Kam b'moitzetzes. Over here it's b'moitzetzes. How do they translate over there the word moitzetzes?
Sucks blood.
When there's blood that's being sucked out from this person, so then it could be only blood alone. And then there's the blood when she sucks and she spits out in such a way, so then the blood has to have some saliva as well. Kam b'shaisis. Here, if it's just like dripping out, not necessarily does it have any saliva in it. Going back to what it said in the Mishnah, cheretz shenechlat. So in the Mishnah it said a cheresh, a person that's deaf mute, and the chalitza was done for him. So the Mishnah said that the chalitza is pasul. So again, to remind you what we just learned before, whenever the Mishnah uses the term pasul, it means that the chalitza did not take effect, that she should not be mutter to everybody else, but it does have the effect that she's asked to go back to do yibum for any of the brothers. So on this, some of Yudam Arav, Zudivri Rab Meir. Rab Meir says that this chalitza is pasul. Av Chachamim say not pasul, much more than that. Ein chalitza is cotton klum. It's nothing. It's totally insignificant. It doesn't even passel her to go back to the brothers. Ketana shachalza, the Mishnah says a ketana that did chalitza. So over here it said in the Mishnah that this chalitza did not take effect. It's passel, and then when she becomes a gedayla, she'll do chalitza again. So Rav Yudah Rav Zudivri Rab Meir. This is the opinion of Rab Meir that not only does the yavam have to be a gadol, but the yavama as well has to be a gedayla. The Omar, so Rav Meir said, Ish, kosted beparsha. In the parsha of Chalitza, the Torah uses the term Ish. It says, Im lo yachpeitza Ish. And makshinan Ish al Ish. We compare the woman to the man. Just like he has to be a gadol, she has to be a gadayla. Ava Chachamim say, Ish kosted beparsha. Again, Ava Chachamim, Ish ksiv beparsha. But regarding the man, it says Ish. But Isha, regarding the woman, ben gadayla ben katana. It doesn't say the term Isha. So she can be a gedayla or a katana, and she could do the chalitza. Now, man chachamim. Who are these chachamim that say that she does not have to be a gedayla? Says the Gemara Rabbi Yaisi. It's Rabbi Yaisi, as we'll see here in the following story. And the Gemara brings a very interesting story that along the way we'll see here this halacha of yibum. The Rab Chia, Rab Shimon bar Rebbe have a yasvi. Rab Chia and Rab Shimon bar Rebbe was sitting, and they were discussing things. Pasachad mina Yevama. So one of them began and said as follows: Hamispalol. Person, when he davens, tzarech sheyitein einov lamata. So with his eyes, he should pay attention and look below, look down. So Rashi says the pshat on this is, person that's davening should look down to the land that he's davening in, which is Eretz Yisrael. Why? Because the Shechina is in Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, a person should look down and pay attention to the Shechina that's present here in the land below. Shanama, the pasuk says, "V'hayu eina v'li b'sham kol hayamim." My eyes and my heart should be there towards the land where the Eibishter is all my life. And v'chad amar, another one said, "Einov l'mayla." When a person davens, his eyes should be looking upward. Or the Bach has a different gear said, "Tzarech sheyichavenes libay l'mayla." His heart should be upward. And the reason is, Shanama nisa levaveinu al kapayim. We lift up our heart and our palms to the Eibishter that's above. So in other words, so as the Mefarshim say, the Mashar says, after the Churban Abayis, so the Shechina lifted up above. So therefore when you daven, you have to lift up your hands and lift up your heart to the Eibishter above. That was their discussion. Ad hachi v'hachi, in between, Asa Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yosi. Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yosi came, legabayu, to them, and Amalo, he says to them, B'mayas kisa, what are you discussing? Amrulay, so they answered in Betfila. We're talking about the davening of a person. Where does he focus towards the Shekhinah? Here below in the land, or up Lamaila? Amalahu, so Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yosi answered them, Kach Amar Rabba, my father Rabbi Yosi said as follows, Hamispalel tzarech sheyitein einov lamato. So on one hand, yes, he should focus with his eyes below here to the Shekhinah, to the presence of the Shekhinah that's in the land below, but his heart should also be focused upward to the Shekhinah that's above. So the both of the psukim that were quoted before should both be fulfilled. That's the pshat in the Gemara according to Rashi and the Marsha. But the Alter Rebbe brings this Gemara in Lekutei Torah in different places, and the Alter Rebbe explains that the point here is when a person davens, on one hand, when you daven, your heart has to be connected going upward. When a person davens, he removes himself of the world and he has to connect to the Eibishter above. But at the same time, though, if a person davens and totally removes himself from who he is and from who the physical world that he's in, and he doesn't yet he doesn't also focus on bringing down and connecting his davening to his mitzias and to who he is physically in this world, so then his davening won't have the proper effect. The moment you finish davening, so then whatever inspiration you have by the davening doesn't come along with you for the world below. So you have to have in davening on one hand to connect above, but to remain focused and bring it down here below to who you are in this world. That's how the Alter Rebbe teaches this. So that was their discussion. Now, Ada Hachi, in between, Asa Rebbe L'Mesifta. So apparently they were sitting there in the yeshiva, having this discussion, and Rebbe, their teacher, arrived to the yeshiva. So everyone had to go grab their places to sit down for Rebbe to come and start teaching them. So Inu, the Hava Kalili. So the other two Tanaim over here, who were they? They were Rab Shimon, who were the other two Tanaim over here? Rab Chia and Rab Shimon. So they were lightweight. So Yisivi B'duchtayu. They were able to quickly run and find their place and sit down. Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yosi. But Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yosi, Agav Yukrei, because he was heavy, so after everyone already found their place, having Mefaseya va'azal, so he was walking very slowly between the people to go to his place. Amalei Avdan. So one of the students of Rebbe that was there, his name was Avdan. So the Mefarshim say his full name was actually Abba Yudin. He's brought in other places. Over here the Gemara gives him a short nickname of Avdan. So he commented to Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yosi that was walking between everybody trying to find his place, who is this individual here that's walking on the heads of all the people on the holy nation that's sitting already in their place? In other words, when you walk between people that are sitting on the floor, the way they used to sit in those times, it looks like you're walking on their heads. Who is this that's walking here between us? So Amalei, so Rabbi Shmuel answered him, Ani Yishmael bar Rabbi Yosi. It's me, Yishmael bar Rabbi Yosi, Shabasi lilmed Torah mi Rabbi. I came to learn Torah from Rabbi. Amalei, so Avdan said back to him, V'chi'i ata hagan lilmed Torah mi Rabbi. Are you fit to come and learn Torah from Rabbi? So Amalei, Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yosi answers back, and if I'm not fit, so what? I still want to learn Torah. And he gives him the following example. V'chi Moshe haya hagan lilmed Torah mi pi hakvura. Is Moshe fit to learn Torah from the Eibishter himself? But still, he learned Torah from the Eibishter. So too, I want to learn Torah from Rebbe. Amalei, so Avdan answers him back, V'chi Moshe ata. And you're Moshe Rabbeinu that you're coming to learn Torah here? Amalei, V'chi Rabach Elikimu, and your teacher, Rebbe, is he the Eibishter? So I'm not Moshe Rabbeinu, he's not the Eibishter, so I can come and learn Torah from him. So this is a very interesting expression that he said, because he said, V'chi Rabach, your teacher. Really, it was his own teacher. But he didn't refer to Rebbe as his own teacher. Why not? So Amar Rav Yosef comments about this and said, Shakle Rebbe l'metarfesei. Rebbe over here took what he deserved. Meaning, the Ka'amalei Rabach, Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yosi referred to Rebbe as your teacher. He was having this discussion with Avdan. So he says, it's your teacher, and V'loi Rabbi. He didn't say it's my teacher. So as Rashi explained, Rebbe heard this comment that Avdan made to Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yosi, that he was like saying, who are you over here? Rebbe should have protested. Rebbe should have said, don't embarrass him. He's a tremendous great Tana. Rebbe did not protest, and because of this, Rebbe got what he deserved, so to speak, that Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yosi responded and said, it's your Rebbe and not my Rebbe. Now, the Hachi, in between, it's all of this happening here, Asiya Yevamos. lekamei de Rebbe. A Yevama arrived there to Rebbe, Amalei Rebbe la Avdan. So Rebbe says to his student Avdan, the troublemaker here, Puk Botka, go out and inspect her and see if she's a Gedayla or not. Apparently she was young and it wasn't clear if she's a Gedayla or a Katana. Go check, you have to see the Simanim in her body to see if she's a Gedayla or not. Labasa the Nafak, so Avdan got up from his place, and after he went out to go and see if she's a Gedayla or not, Amalei Rabbi Shmuel, so Rabbi Shmuel tells Rebbe, Kach Oma Abba, this is what my father Rabbi Yossi said, Ish Kosav B'Parsha. Regarding the Yavam, it says that he has to be a Ish, he has to be a Gadol. Aval Isha, but the woman, Ben Gedayla Ben Katana, she could be a Gedayla or a Katana, it doesn't matter. So you don't have to go and inspect her to see if she's a Gedayla or a Katana. Amalei, so Rebbe said to Avdan, so come back. You don't have to go and check her to see if she's a Gedayla or a Katana. Kva Hoyre Zakin, Rabbi Yossi, the elder, he already paskined that you don't have to check, and even if she's a Katana, it could be done. So now everyone was sitting in their place, and this Avdan that had gone out to go and see and inspect her, he was walking back to his place. Kamifsa Avdan va'asti. So Avdan was coming back to his place while everyone was sitting. So Amalei Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi tells Avdan, if you're an individual that you are needed for where you were going, and therefore you're coming back to your place, so you can walk now over here, and it looks like you're walking on the heads of people, but you can do this if you're needed. But Misha ain't Tzarech Lo Yam Kodesh, if you're not even needed. As it turns out, you went out to go and inspect her and it wasn't even needed. Hey, Yivsal Roshi Am Kodesh. How are you coming now to walk over here and it looks like you're walking on the heads of all the people that are sitting over here? Right, so if you're doing a shlichus for Rebbe, so that's okay, but your shlichus was totally unnecessary, so don't walk over here between us. Amalei Rebbe Avdan. So Rebbe agreed to Rabbi Shmuel but Rabbi Yossi. So here Rebbe stuck up for Rabbi Shmuel but Rabbi Yossi, and he said to his student Avdan, Kom beduchtech. Stop in your place, stand in your place, don't walk between everybody to go to your regular place. Tane, in the Braisa we learned about this incident here, because Avdan embarrassed Rabbi Shmuel but Rabbi Yossi before in the story here. So Ba'isa Shah, what happened at that time is Nitztara Avdan. Avdan himself became a Mitzayra. V'tavu shnei banav, he had two sons, they both drowned. And he had two daughter-in-laws that were katanas, and they married his sons. And a katana that marries without the father marrying them off, as we learned many times before in this Masechta, they're able to reject the whole marriage, and two of his daughter-in-laws rejected his sons. This was his punishment. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, so Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak said about this, Brich Rachmane de Kosvela Avdan b'Hayalma. Blessed is the Eibishter that Avdan got embarrassed over here in this world, so when he comes to the world to come, he'll be able to enter into Gan Eden and learn, and then he already got paid his punishment in this world. Amar Rabami said, Midvarav shal Berebi, from the words of Berebi, which refers to Yossi, that has this he's referred to as Berebi. Nilmaid, we can learn Ketana Chiletzes, that Ketana could do the Chalitza be if she comes to the age of Peutais. What's the age of Peutais? Just a second. The age of Peutais is she has at least a basic awareness. Rashi says 6 or 7 years old that she could know when she's making a transaction. She has the awareness to understand what the transaction is, so she can have the kavanah for chalitza if an adult will tell her what to do. Rava says she doesn't have to be already a gedayla bas mitzvah, which is at the age of 12, but when she comes to the age, if she makes a neder, that the neder will take effect, which is 1 year before bas mitzvah, from 11 years old. But after all of this, even though Rabbi Yossi says she does not have to be a gedayla, the Gemara says, but v'hilchase, we paskin like the opinion of Rab Meir that was brought in our Mishnah, at shetovi shtei saris, that a Yevama does not do the Yibum, or the Chalitza that is rather, until she has 2 siders, until we know that she's a Gedayla.
If we allow her to get married, why don't we allow her to do a Chalitza?
The marriage is only Midrabanan. But this today, a Ketana gets married is a Takana Midrabanan. But this Chalitza here is Minatayra. So, Minatayra, that Meir held that you compare Ish to Isha, and you have to be a Gedayla. Chaltza b'shnayim v'chulu. Going back to what it said in the Mishnah, if the chalitza was done in the presence of 2 people, Amar Rav Yossi bar Miyami, Amar Rav Nachman, ein halacha ka'isei hazug. So there was a pair of Tanaim in the Mishnah that said that even if you did not have 2, and if one of them were found to be puzzled, the chalitza took effect. So he says we don't paskin like them. Fragt the Gemara, why does Rav Nachman have to say this here? V'ha'amar Rav Nachman chad zimna, he already said once before. Amar Rav Yossi bar Miyami, Amar Rav Nachman, chalitza b'shloisha. That chalitza has to be with 3 individuals, that 3 as a bezdin. Says the Gemara Tzrichi, you have to have both of these statements. If we would only say what it says over here, that we don't paskin like this peer that said that you can't do it with two, I would think that that's only lechatchila. But b'diavad, aval diavad, afilatrei. B'diavad with two, the chalitza took effect. Kamash malon, that's why he has to say over here, ein halacha koisi azug over here, in the Mishnah it was talking about even after the fact. Even after the fact, when it turns out that one of the three were puzzle, the chalitza does not take effect. On the other hand, v'yashmina ein halacha koisi azug, if it would say over here that we don't paskin like this peer, so then ela ketana kama, you only paskin like the Tanakama, so then I would say havamina diavad. Here it's talking about that b'diavad, so with two it does not take effect. So the whole Mishnah here is discussing a b'diavad situation. Aval lechatchila, but we're not talking about lechatchila. Maybe I would say lechatchila lebayach chamisha. Maybe you should need 5. If you remember in the beginning of the Perek, we had an opinion that said that you need 5. So therefore tzricha, therefore you have to have the other statement that he said that even lechatchila 3 is enough. And the Mishnah brought a story, Maisa Shecholzu, there was a Yavam and Yevama that were together in a prison, and she did the chalitza in the prison, and there was no one else there. There was no bezin, nothing. And the Gemara there said, the Mishnah that is said, that Rabbi Akiva said that this chalitza is kosher. Says the Gemara, Beinay lebeina, if the chalitza happened between him and her, miya daina. So how do we know that they even did this chalitza? They're coming and telling us that this chalitza was done. But how can we trust them that they did this chalitza? We don't even have any witnesses to testify about this. There were no Eidim that were with them inside the prison. There was no Bezdin inside the prison to officiate this chalitza, but there were witnesses that from the outside that saw this. Now the question was asked about this story. This story that it says that there was a chalitza that happened between him and her. So Avroi did this story take place between him and her, and they were really outside the prison? In other words, when it says in the Mishnah, look in the Mishnah, it says that this was bebeisa asurim. They were in the prison. So who was in the prison over here? The man and the woman. Is the story they were really outside the prison? And they did the chalitza privately, not because they were in prison, but the way to read the Mishnah is that the story was asked to Rabbi Akiva after Rabbi Akiva was prisoned. As the story is, Rabbi Akiva learned Torah even after the Romans decreed that you're not allowed to learn Torah, and he was in prison. The question was asked to him when he was in prison. Or maybe the way to read the Mishnah is the man and the woman, they were in prison, but Rabbi Akiva was not in prison. So it really depends how you read the Mishnah. It says Uba Maisel if Rabbi Akiva. If you read it with a vav, Uba, so then it means the man and woman were in prison, but he was not. But if you take out that vav, so you can read the Mishnah Bebeisa Asurim Ba Maisel if Rabbi Akiva. So that's the question. How do you read our Mishnah? So the Gemara says, Amar Rav Yehuda Marav Beveisa Asurin Haya Maisa. The story that happened between this husband and wife, or not husband and wife, between this Yavam and Yevama was in prison. Ulebeisa Asurin Ba Maisa. And the story came to Rabbi Akiva also when he was in the prison. So Taisus over here says that in the Mishnah you don't see this, but in Yerushalmi it says the whole story of how this happened, that this happened with this man and woman in prison, and they came to ask the question to Rabbi Akiva in prison, and they couldn't ask him the question outright because the whole Gezeda was that they shouldn't learn any Torah, and there were guards there. So they asked it in a way, the Taisus over here brings, they came like peddlers making believe that they have something to sell, and in their words when they were speaking, they slipped in asking this question to Rabbi Akiva whether this chalitza is kosher, and then when Rabbi Akiva answered, he also answered in a disguised way that the chalitza is kosher. So this all took place when Rabbi Akiva himself was imprisoned.